Hey guys, I just had the most horrible dream. I was playing something other than a indie platformer. Wait a minute, what's this? What's... Brought to us by a couple of people and published by everyone's favorite Devolver Digital, Pikuniku starts off as a charming, colorful little tale about being a double amputee in a world where a corporatist has gone absolutely mad. What it devolves into, however, is a short exercise in doing, saying, and really kind of being nothing of any real consequence and condemning itself to fade into obscurity rather quick. But perhaps I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Here at the start of the game, we're introduced to Piku in a cave with a ghost. Alright, good enough, no problems here. We're forced to get familiar with the basic mechanics of jump and kick. And that's it. Making our way into the world, the first people we meet think we're some sort of heinous monster, and we manage to convince them otherwise by fixing a bridge that we first broke, and we make our way in the world from there. The game is not complicated by any stretch of the imagination. You can jump, you can walk, you can roll for more speed, you can kick people, you can get into fights with them, you can escalate use of force until an international arms treaty has to be signed, and swing from hooks. You are presented with a short story to play through with its own little quirky presentation, and are even given a few side dungeons to complete. You can humiliate the toast god, have a dance-off with a robot, kick other robots, and play a video game. And it's all painfully simplistic. The few side dungeons never become more complicated than putting thing here, kick this switch, or avoid that spike. It never rises to a difficulty level that even classic Mario games ever hit, and you'll be able to 100% the game within a measly 3 hours or so. The soundtrack, however, is absolutely fantastic and goes a long way to helping add some personality to what are mostly very flat and lifeless environments. You can easily compare the game to, say, Katamari Damacy, and you would be backed up in that way by the aforementioned score. Much like Katamari, Pikuniku's music features a main theme whose motifs are used throughout other tracks, much in the same way that concept albums tend to do. It helps drive the game identity, and goes a long way to making up for a lot of what the rest of the design lacks. Unfortunately, that's kind of where any real good comparisons can be made. The game has a sense of humor, but only in that it's surreal story told in an absurd manner. It doesn't take itself seriously at all, and mostly just focuses on presenting situations as they are, and with a little smile on its face. Unfortunately, it lacks jokes entirely, and with as much fun as the game is having with itself, it never really brought a smile to my face. Sure, you can play hide and seek with a rock, play kick version of basketball with a watermelon, and unleash your inner artiste, but it's small, self-contained, and never really goes anywhere with any of it. The segment where you help a budding musician with their techno track by kicking a bicycle horn is kind of predictable and mundane to the point that I felt like I had actually wasted my own time engaging in the segment. And that really is how most of the game made me feel, like I'd wasted a great deal of my time. There are a couple of boss fights, but they are painfully more simple than the rest of the game, and don't add anything to the experience. Even the climax and the finale are just, well, that happened moments. It's a game that doesn't take itself seriously. It's a game that doesn't really want to challenge the player. It wants you to collect things, but doesn't really seem to have a purpose for doing so. Its happy little color fest of art design is flat and goes nowhere. And it all fails to have any of the real personality and staying power of its contemporaries. Oh, there it is! Special thanks to Leigh Alexander. Now it all makes fucking sense. What happened, guys? Let me guess. You had this 30-hour epic that told a comedic tale that would withstand the test of time. Gameplay that was, while simple, expanded on how we play platforms and really tested the player's skill. And then this bitch played it, told you interesting gameplay was sexist, decent story was racist, and you're a Nazi if you tell jokes, so you guys panicked and cut all that shit. That's what happened, isn't it? Cosmic digression aside, the game features a co-op mode. Guess how that went with me. All of that aside, Pikuniku is $13, $15 or $16 or so if you get the soundtrack with it, and you get a 3-hour experience that is essentially a throwaway kids game with a surprisingly damn good soundtrack. It follows in the long line of indie micro games that have this big lead up, present a concept, and then follow through with a completely forgettable experience that by the end of the year will be selling for $5, and nobody will really remember the name of. So if you're down with that, then sure, why the fuck not? Knock yourself out. But for me, it all came in as not really disappointing, just kind of a waste. Which I guess is okay, I really needed a break from requesting a refund for God Eater 3, Zingo! Okay, real talk, don't get me wrong. There is a level of enjoyment to be had with this game that is perfectly satisfactory. But that's all it's really ever going to amount to, is satisfactory. It entertains for an afternoon and never gets much further than that. And there's something to be said for games that do that. Not everything can be a phenomenal and groundbreaking and shooting for the moon, etc, etc, etc. This game isn't mediocre by any stretch of the imagination. It's competently designed, it does exactly what the devs set out to do, and again, that soundtrack, guys, I'm not fucking kidding. But the reality is, we will need these middle-of-the-road forgettable games that make a good buck and then the devs move on. It's kind of like an ecosystem. You have bad games that we lament, mediocre games we shake our heads at, average games where we ask if we can't do better, above average here like Piku where we get a pretty decent experience but lament how there wasn't more to it, and then we start getting good and better and yada yada yada. It's good to have these one-time experiences. They give us a strong baseline for where we're at when it comes to industry trends. The fact that I put Pikuniku in the above average but middle of the road category is fucking damning for the indie scene right now, isn't it? Don't you fucking think we could be doing better than a kids game with a pretty good soundtrack? I'd sure like to fucking think so, but it's not a bad game and it's not harmful to the industry. They probably spent as much time making ads for the game as they did working on the game. It really kinda goes nowhere and makes no statements and won't be remembered a year from now. Fill that niche, Pikuniku, you probably won't be remembered. I'm the TheNecroswanson, and you can go fuck yourselves. Ha ha! Now wasn't that fun, kids? But let's take a moment to get serious here. Every year, thousands of children play independent platformers. You may think it's all fun in video games, but it's far more damaging than you realize. You may even feel all high and mighty when you're jumping over a pit and saving a princess, but the toll it takes, not just on your physical and mental health, but the toll it takes on your loved ones, is crushing. Platformers tear families apart, destroy communities, and can land you in some serious trouble. So please, if someone you know is playing independent platformers, don't confront them. Tell their family about your concerns. They can contact some professionals who can get help. And if you yourself have started playing these indie jumpy games, stop. Seek help immediately. Your life and your family aren't worth a couple of shiny yellow coins. Was that good? Can I go now? Kids are a bunch of fucking losers. Who cares if they OD on Mario? We're still live? Oh, fuck!